Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight, your host in studio, and Gerald Celente is going to be joining us in the next hour. He's going to talk about post-election issues. He's going to talk about the economy, the global effects of the Trump presidency, trade. He's also going to talk about some of his top 10, not top 10, but his top trends for 2017. And, of course, Gerald Celente's publication is Trends Journal. So we want to see what Gerald sees ahead for 2017. We've seen a lot of optimism after the election. I want to talk about the pushback on free speech. I want to talk about the reaction to Hillary Clinton is having, and I want to talk about two different aspects of the reaction to free speech. Let me finish with what I was talking about just before we went to the break, which is this report from Kit Daniels, a report that from an insider saying that drunk Hillary is demanding a recount to, quote, lift her spirits. Maybe she's going from first lady to bag lady, you know, wallowing in her self-pity, alcohol, the gutter, but with mountains of cash to comfort her. They say, this is a Clinton insider, said she's weepy. She looks 10 years older. She's very whiny. She's been drinking wine pretty heavily, much more than usual. She mopes around all day, swimming in a sea of recriminations and complaining that her campaign managers were incompetent. Bill and Chelsea didn't work hard enough. FBI Director Comey was in league with Trump. It's not her fault. See, it's all these other people. It's this vast right-wing and now a vast left-wing conspiracy against her as well. Everybody has conspired to deny her lifelong ambition. So sorry, Hillary. You know, I've said many times, I never thought that we would get Hillary in jail, but I thought we could, if we defeated her, then it would be a punishment worse than jail. And maybe that's happening. I just can't contain, I'm sorry. Anyway, additionally, they say President Obama, who pressured Clinton to concede to Trump on election night, also encouraged her to jump on board Jill Stein's recount effort to make the globalists look less defeated, said the source. It said the president felt the progressives were acting stunned and helpless and had to rise out of their stupor. Contesting the results of the election was the best and fastest way to stir the morale and the fighting spirit of a demoralized party. He is a community organizer. He works with all these people that are surrounded by George Soros folks. And this whole thing is an effort to try to delegitimize the election seriously. This is the tactic, and we've pointed this out from the very beginning. As soon as they started the riots, like, oh, this looks like a color revolution from George Soros. What do? They always paint the victor as corrupt, as racist, as, well, not racist, but authoritarian, because in other parts of the world, they don't really have that is not the central leverage. It's typically a class struggle. In America, they've made it a race struggle. That was the brainchild of Bill Ayers and his people, the radicals from the 60s. They realized that they weren't going to be able to organize the communist left along the same lines that they would in Europe, so they chose to try to divide people by skin color. And that's worked pretty well, their white skin privilege. So we know that that's the way they've worked in other countries. We know that they try to delegitimize the election. They tried to personally attack and demonize the person who won. And then they get these social justice warriors, college students, to get violent and to stage a revolution. And so that's what they're trying to do. I don't think they're going to succeed, but that's the tactic on it. Also, before I get to this other news, we see that we've got the usual suspects, John McCain and Lindsey Graham, out working hard on 9/11, working not for the American people, but for their Saudi masters. Okay, the Hill reports GOP senators want to amend the Saudi 9/11 bill. So it wasn't enough that they would delay compensation to the victims of 9/11 for 15 years. Now that passed because that was not something they were going to be able to sell politically, and especially after Donald Trump pushed for the missing 28 pages out of the report. If they want to blame 9/11 on the Saudis, then let's have them compensate us for it, okay? But now we've got McCain and Graham rolling out an amendment to a law that allows the families of 9/11 victims to sue Saudi Arabia so they can protect Saudi Arabia from the victims. They say that Saudi Arabia did this, but say no. And here's the way they're going to do it. They want to change the law, which is JASTA. It's the Justice Against Sponsors of Terrorism Act, which sailed through Congress so that lawsuits can only be brought against foreign governments that, quote, unquote, knowingly support terrorism. See, it's kind of like Hillary and Comey. Hillary said, oh, she's got all of these felony violations of national security, but she didn't do it knowingly. She just didn't know what she's doing. And, when they deliberately erased and electronically shredded the disks, she didn't do that knowingly. There's no intent to evade the law or to break the law. Just stuff just happens, for the rich and powerful at the very top. And so they want to tell us on the one hand that the Saudis did it, but then on the other hand that they shouldn't be held responsible. And of course, the 9/11 families and survivors united for justice against terrorism are not having any part of that. They quickly slammed that. Now, at the same time, we see that there's a lot of talk. Bloomberg is pushing this idea. Listen to this. They're expanding this narrative about how Russia put out this information about Hillary Clinton. Remember the Red Scare? WikiLeaks was an agent of Russia. Well, now the conspiracy theory widens, because if you, through social media, put out some of the information that was exposed about Hillary Clinton and John Podesta, now you are part of the vast right-wing conspiracy. Not only right-wing, but the red wing, I guess we should call it, the Red Scare conspiracy. And this article from Bloomberg says Russia weaponized social media. See that? Weaponized social media. This is a company called FireEye. I wonder if their corporate logo is Sauron from the Lord of the Rings. That would be appropriate, wouldn't it? Russia's government, they said, didn't just hack and leak the documents from U.S. political groups during the presidential campaign. It used social media as a weapon to influence perceptions about the election, according to cybersecurity company FireEye. They say material stolen by Russia's intelligence services was feverishly promoted by online personas and numerous fake accounts through links to leaked material and misleading narratives. Here's the fake news thing coming in as well, right? So they enlarge this. They go on to say they have to do something about the spread of fake news. And it is enlisted demands from Jill Stein to look at the election. Why? Because there's fake news, they say. See, Jill Stein is not about any kind of election reform. So she could have talked about voter machine fraud. But when we talked about it, when we talked about voter fraud, when we talked about machine fraud, we were labeled as conspiracy theorists. But now they think they can use it to stop Donald Trump. So just like globalism was originally a conspiracy theory, and then they said, oh, that doesn't exist. That's just in the mind of some people at InfoWars or whatever, this whole new world order and globalism, that's just a conspiracy theory. Then they said, no, globalism is a good thing. You need to understand it's a good thing. Even though it may have destroyed your life, it may have destroyed the middle class in America, no, it's a good thing. Then when they lost the election, they came back to calling it a conspiracy theory again. I mean, this is like 1984. First these people are your enemies, now they're your friends, now they're your enemies. They think we don't understand. And so after telling us this lie about all these leaks coming from Russia, and of course we had people like William Binney, people like Steve Pieczenik, they're saying, it's not coming from Russia. These are patriots in the United States who are sick and tired of this corrupt regime. They're sick and tired of seeing national security that they really think ought to be protected being just thrown in the trash by Hillary Clinton. And they don't want to see this kind of cronyism that we have seen from, and corruption that we've seen from Hillary Clinton, kind of RICO corruption, the kind of mafia corruption that we've seen with the Clinton Foundation. You want to believe that WikiLeaks and InfoWars and all of social media is a Russian conspiracy? How ridiculous is this getting? But it just keeps metastasizing. And it's not limited to Bloomberg that's selling this, or the Washington Post that's selling this, or FireEye that is selling this. This is now being enacted into law. RT points out that the House has passed an intelligence bill aimed at thwarting Russia's influence over people and governments. Understand where this is coming from. They're using FireEye to sell this idea that now it's not only just the fact that we can see the corruption in these emails, the exchange of money for favors, the backroom deals that created ISIS. No. Don't look at that stuff. And if you look at that stuff, if you pass that around, you are part of the Russian conspiracy. We've got to do something about it. The House of Representatives has now passed an intelligence bill. It's got to go before the Senate. What are the chances it'll win there? Pretty good, because you got both the Republicans and the Democrats who want a deeper security state. This is a 93-page bill passed by the House, 390 to 30. It was done yesterday. It calls for setting up a new interagency panel to suppress Russia's alleged attempts to, quote, exert covert influence over peoples and governments, reports the Washington Post. So you understand that all this nonsense that began with the leaks of the DNC about this all being a Russian conspiracy, this is now making its way into law, bipartisan law. They say that they're going to counter active measures by Russia to exert covert influence. What are they going to do? Are they going to use Voice of America to counter Russian propaganda, as they say, inside the United States? Because it was a couple of years ago that they said we're going to remove the restrictions of this propaganda media outlet so that they can broadcast into America. So they've already been laying the groundwork for that. They said this is going to include exposing falsehoods, agents of influence, corruption, human rights abuses, terrorism, and assassinations carried out by the security services or political elites of the Russian Federation or their proxies. So now they're going to be countering this. They are going to be coming after false news by the Congress itself. Yeah, it is weaponized, all right, but it's not coming from the people who share the stuff on social media. It's not coming from WikiLeaks. They're simply telling people the truth about our corrupt government. That's what they don't want to see. And when they go in and say part of this is going to be updating whistleblower protections in the intelligence community and requiring declassification review of intelligence reports on detainees transferred out of Gitmo by Obama and George Bush. Well, you know, if they want to make it easier for whistleblowers, maybe you should listen to some of the whistleblowers like William Binney, who said this isn't Russia that is pushing this. Okay? This is really dangerous, folks. This is getting to a much larger scope. And take a look at what happened to Breitbart yesterday. We have this up on Infowars.com as well. First, we had Breitbart being boycotted by Kellogg's. Kellogg's came out and said, well, we're going to end our relationship with Breitbart because we don't like the views expressed. They don't align with Kellogg's company values. So they pulled their advertising. Well, what are Kellogg's values? Breitbart came back out and did a report talking about how Amnesty International has been blasting Kellogg's for child labor. There's Kellogg's values. Okay, they don't. Breitbart evidently doesn't support child labor in third world countries, and so they don't support. So Kellogg's is going to pull out their advertising because they don't support their values. Okay, now Amnesty International has been investigating a company called Wilmar. They are the world's largest processor and merchandiser of palm oil, and they control 43% of the global palm oil trade. Wilmar provides palm oil to Kellogg's and other producers of consumer electronics. Amnesty International said there's serious human rights abuses on the plantations of Wilmar and its suppliers, including forced labor, child labor, gender discrimination, as well as exploitative and dangerous working practices. They say in terms of child labor, Amnesty says some children start working at the age of 8 and on, and all were below 15 years of age. Some children have dropped out of school. They work for most of the day. Children are carrying heavy loads as they have to carry sacks of loose fruit, and some transport wheelbarrows full of heavy palm fruit bunches over uneven terrain and narrow bridges. So this is the war that's going back and forth. And in response to that article, Breitbart then launched a counter boycott to Kellogg's. And they put it up as a Twitter hashtag, dump Kellogg's. And that went to #1 on Twitter because people are sick and tired of this. We understand what's behind this. We understand what FireEye is doing. We understand what the House is doing, now pushing this fake news narrative and trying to shut down outlets like Breitbart for publishing stories that they don't agree with, censoring people on social media, saying that social media is now weaponized by the Russian government. And then our House and soon-to-be Senate saying we're going to have government ways to push back against social media is really what they're saying, folks. So understand what this is about, and understand this is one of the reasons why we fund the operation the way we do here at InfoWars, for 2 reasons. #1, you don't need to be eating cereal that is loaded with sugar and palm oil. So we said, let's give people some healthy stuff for their to take care of themselves, take care of their families. The other part of it is so that we don't become vulnerable to these kinds of boycotts that are inevitable with big corporations. This is why the big news corporations tiptoe around these stories about big pharma and other issues, is because they don't want to lose their corporate sponsorship. And so they're very susceptible to this type of thing. Breitbart is not taking this line down. They're going out with a counter boycott. Hopefully that will be successful. But one of the things that we do, as I said, is we support our operation by offering you directly fine quality products that are going to help your health. One of the things that we offer is DNA Force. DNA Force is a very unique product. It has BioPQQ. It is a compound that's backed by over 175 clinical studies. It's very hard to secure. It's very expensive to produce. And it is synergistically mixed with other ingredients, other potent antioxidants like vitamin C that you can get in a lot of sources, but we get the best quality sources. We combine them with unique things like BioPQQ. And that is something that you can support our operation with, and you can support your health with, or other things like Brain Force, another very unique thing that we offer here at InfoWars. That is my favorite supplement, because I can definitely feel that, you know, when you do something that helps your immune system, or you do something that helps your DNA, you're not going to feel that. You may look at yourself over a long period of time, and when I take these supplements, I see that I'm not getting sick like others in my family that would take them. Typically, we're getting all of our kids to take this stuff now, because we've just been taking it, my wife and I, a lot of these supplements that are there just to supplement your health. We've been taking that. We find that we're not getting as sick as frequently as the kids do. So it's like, okay, we need to extend this to everybody, not just to us. But when I take something like Brain Force, I can immediately feel how that focuses my mind. I know that it has a direct effect. So we offer unique products that gives us an independence from this kind of boycotting from corporate sponsors. And you're going to see this happening in multiple ways. They're pulling out all the stops, the fake news narrative, the censorship on social media, calling social media weaponized, and now boycotting from financial sponsors, trying to put people out of business. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
My fellow InfoWarriors, I am very excited to be able to announce to you the introduction at InfoWarsLife.com of a new way to save time and money when you stock up on InfoWars Life formulations like Survival Shield X2 and Super Male Vitality. Just go to InfoWarsLife.com today, select your favorite product, click on Auto Ship before adding to cart, and choose how often you want us to send you another order. Every time you choose Auto Ship at InfoWarsLife.com, you get 10% off, and you won't have to worry about running out and having to reorder next time. And of course, you can cancel with one click anytime. As you know, I'm all about the idea of a 360 win, and the new auto ship feature at InfoWarsLife.com is a sure win for everybody. A win for liberty, a win for health, and a win when it comes to big savings. Visit InfoWarsLife.com today and save 10% on your next InfoWars Life order by selecting auto ship at checkout. That's InfoWarsLife.com, or call 888-253-3139.